Hey all Walking Dead fans out there. This is Dave. I recently did a video where I talked about how I believe Carl could survive his bot. Well, I found some new information and it kind of ties into a theory that I've seen where some people say, well, is Rick an immortal? Had he not died when he was in the hospital and came back? Well, I found some interesting information going back and look at the old shows. Tell me what you think. So here we have Shane in the hospital with Rick. And back there behind him, you can see his heart monitor. We'll get back to that in a minute. And here we have Shane, after everything's gone to hell, putting his ear to Rick's chest, can't hear a heartbeat. He's a trained cop. You would think that he would be able to tell a heartbeat. Rick's not a fat man or anything like that. And his ear is to his bare skin. He should be able to hear his heart beating. But I think there may be a reason why. So we all know that Carl was shot and had to be rushed to Herschel because he was going to die. And he was taken to Herschel and they ran and got medical supplies and Rick gave him a transfusion and Carl survived. Could Rick have passed on something special to Carl? Hang on a second. Let's see if he did. Okay, here is a clip from the scene at the hospital. Here you can see, it's hard to tell, but I blew this up and looked at it a whole bunch of times. And plus, I'm a nurse, so it looks like the top line there, the top green line, and it says 80. That is his heart rate. The second green line down, it's hard to read, but I think that would be his blood pressure. The third line down that says 29, that's his respirations. And then the fourth line down where it says 98% and above that's, you can't barely read it, but it says 98, that is his oxygen, his O2 stats. That's his O2 saturation. And but let me show you something really interesting. I know this is hard to see, but if you look at this, we're looking through the visor of one of the army guys that was executing people in the hallways. Came in, Shane hid down. Take a look at that monitor again. Notice how the lines are all real jagged looking. What does that mean? Here we go. Here's another look, and we can see those real jagged lines. They changed. They were normal a while ago. Now they look a little different. Here's another view at them. See how different they are? What does that mean? What does that mean? Alright guys, let's watch this for a minute.
Listen to me, if you're gonna wake up, I need you to do it now. Okay, now. Please, man, just show me a sign, anything. Please, Rick.
Boom, all the power goes out. And then there goes Shane. Remember, a trained police officer puts his head to his naked skin and hears nothing. Begins to weep at his perceived loss of his friend. Puts his hand over his eyes. Now, here's a simulation. I want you to watch this and pay close attention to it. You'll see when it starts, that's a normal sinus, and then we see a change. It's a normal sinus rhythm that's changed. Alright, he's going into pulseless ventricular tachycardia. This can only last for seconds to a few minutes. See the change it, the irregularities? This is coarse ventricular fibrillation. Can only last from 4 to 5 minutes if no interventions are done. See how it's jagged like Rick's was on the monitor? See the jaggedness of it? Now we're seeing that it's very similar to the way Rick's looked on the monitor before the power went out. And this is fine ventricular fibrillation. Chances of bringing someone back to life is greatly diminished. We didn't see this part because the power got knocked out. And then we go into asystole. That means without beat, irreversible brain death from this point. So, Rick might have died. And then he came back. And could he have came back? And now he, unlike everybody else, he came back to life without the zombie curse. And then he did a blood transfusion to Carl. And now Carl is immune to it. I don't know. Go back, watch that episode Freeze on those screens, and tell me what you think. But that pattern that we see sure looks similar to what we see here. As the heartbeat goes into, fibrillation. And then to death. We seen Rick with a normal sinus, then his started to get different. We go into ventricular tachycardia. That's where we see the real jagged lines. And this can only last for a few seconds to a couple of minutes. There we go. There's the jagged lines. And this can only last 4 to 5 minutes if no interventions are done. So if he started to go into ventricular fibrillation, VFib, and then the power went out, this is pulseless. Shane listened to his heartbeat. There was no heartbeat because the pulse had stopped because he had gone into VFib. And then Shane left and Rick died. So, I know, a little strange. Take a look at it yourself and let me know what you think. This is Dave, Zoe Zizzles. Take it easy, guys.